Welcome to Hood Champion Boxing and Sports. In boxing, you find a way to win or you find a way to lose. And this fight coming up between Luis Ortiz and Andy Ruiz, this is definitely a 50-50 fight. Probably one of the most 50-50 fights I've seen in quite some time, man. And no matter how you feel about Ortiz or Ruiz, you just got to be real about what's going on, man. The thing is, Andy Ruiz, for some reason, right? After he and Ortiz fight September 4th, Andy Ruiz is calling out Deontay Wilder. Now this is the thing. This is the thing with this, man. Andy Ruiz needs to figure out what he wants to do. He want to be skinny or he want to be fat. You know what I'm saying? It's like Oprah Winfrey. You know what I mean? Back in the day, Oprah didn't know what she wanted to do. She wanted to be fat. She wanted to be skinny. And the thing is, Oprah performed better when she had weight on her. Oprah's best interviews didn't come when she was slim. You know what I'm saying? She just never looked comfortable. Is more worried about her appearance opposed to doing her job. Same thing with Andy Ruiz. He's more worried about his appearance than doing his job. But he got a wake-up call when he faced Arreola. So now Andy Ruiz coming into this fight, we're going to have to see what exactly is he trying to do. Is he trying to be a model or is he trying to be a boxer? You know what I mean? Because being a model almost got his ass knocked out against Chris Arreola. In addition, losing all that weight affects punch resistance. That being said, he can't afford to get in the ring with Luis Ortiz and not be able to withstand the offense that Ortiz is going to dish out. Now, the other thing that concerns me about Ruiz fighting Ortiz is this bouncing around from trainers, okay? He could get caught right in the middle of who was the guy he was with when he won the championship from AJ? Manny Robles, right? He looked good training underneath Robles. And he looked good. I'm just going to call it like it is. He looked amazing. He goes over to Eddie Reynoso. He looked basic. 1, 2, 3. For those of you who don't know what those combinations are, jab, right hand, or left hand if you're southpaw. Then the cleanup hook. That's all Andy Ruiz. That's how he beat Chris Arreola. And that is not the Andy Ruiz we're used to seeing. We're used to seeing the Andy Ruiz that throw 15 punches. You know, the guy would jab and throw a power shot, slip and come over with the right hand. You know, that Andy Ruiz that once he lets his hands go, it's like you get caught up in a damn, a typhoon, man, of just fists. But where are we now with him? He leaves Manny Robles, goes to Eddie Reynoso, didn't really look there. He looked basic, talking about he wants to be the heavyweight Canelo, which he'll never be, because Andy Ruiz doesn't need to be a Canelo. Andy Ruiz was a monster. So now the issues with Eddie Reynoso, he's over here with Joe Goossen, which to me, Joe Goossen is one who looks like he's more concerned about his weird hairstyles and tight-ass denim outfits than really being an effective trainer. Now, something that does concern me, right? Because there's some of these fighters have left Eddie Reynoso. Ryan Garcia said that Eddie Reynoso wanted to be a part-time trainer but get paid full-time trainer money. Now, Andy Ruiz hasn't come out and said that. But it makes you wonder why Andy Ruiz left there too. But then again, we got to be fair. Andy Ruiz showed lack of discipline. Wasn't showing up to the gym. When Ryan Garcia was with Eddie Reynoso, Ryan Garcia wasn't really showing up at the gym, was having mental health issues, and they said he lacked discipline. So for Eddie Reynoso to not show the level of commitment that they felt he should have shown as a trainer, conversely, he feels the level of commitment they should have shown as fighters wasn't there. So I think it was just best for them to go their own ways. So now you got Ruiz with Joe Goossen. I'm not sure that's the best fit for him, okay? Especially coming off of such a long layoff. And in that performance where he fought Chris Arreola, he just didn't look that good. Now, although he's 34-2 and 20 with 22 KOs, his losses were to AJ and to Parker, right? He's now talking about getting in there with a guy like Deontay Wilder. Now, I'm going to tell you, with this fight against Ruiz, with Luis Ortiz, if Ruiz was going to win this fight, and he comes in and looks like the old Ruiz, I would say, man, that would probably be a pretty close fight. It'd be hard for me to call it. Still got to go with Wilder. But that Ruiz, who fought that European fighter before he fought AJ in that first fight, that Ruiz, the one I grew up watching, I came up watching, the bald head, fat, looked like a little kid, that monster gives everybody problems. But this isn't him, man. This isn't him. This guy's a multi-millionaire now. He's not the same guy. Now there's steak with the beans and rice. You understand? It's not the same hunger, man. So, although he says he doesn't want to take easy fights, that's why he waited, because he knows Ortiz is a big name and a big puncher, great boxer, hard-hitting. It kind of could be a little bit awkward. He said he's not underestimating him, but, when he fought Chris Arreola, he didn't want an easy fight. So he's training hard, and he says if he does beat Ortiz, he wants Wilder. Now, this is the thing. Luis Ortiz, somehow Luis Ortiz knows how to win a fight. And those two fights with Wilder, Ortiz was winning. He was winning, and he got caught. Okay? Outside of that, everyone else he's been in the ring with, he's managed not to defeat him. So you got to give Luis Ortiz his respect, okay? Because Luis Ortiz is no pushover. 33 wins, 2 losses, 28 KOs. And some people are saying he's 43. Some say 53. Some say he's 67, 68, all right? I don't know how old he is. But I do know that however old he is, he's still getting busy in boxing, all right? And for that man to be, 43, 44, whatever, however old he is, right? He's still out here knocking guys out. But what concerns us when it comes to the beloved Luis Ortiz, right? Now, if you don't have a lot of respect and love for this guy, then you're just an animal. Because when you see these guys fighting for the kids and just hear the stories, man, and you don't feel some kind of, compassion or some kind of attachment to him, then, to me, just an animal. So I think he's still plugging along because he wants to make sure that his daughter's straight and all the medical expenses are expensive. Make sure he has money to make sure that whatever goes on with that, well, she's becoming a woman now. But long term, he can always make sure that she's all right. And even after he's gone, he's put in a position where she'll never have to worry about medical expenses and she'll be okay. And that deserves to be more than commended, okay? But the problem is this, all right? He lost to Wilder twice, got knocked out. He came and he fought Charles Martin, the king, the guy who sold his belt for $8 million to AJ. Martin was giving Luis Ortiz the business. Martin was winning that fight, and then out of nowhere, Luis Ortiz went from looking like an old Volkswagen to looking like a young, stealthy Ferrari, man, and got that damn lightning quick left hand on Martin. And Martin didn't know what the hell was going on. Knocked him out, man. Fight over. So that tells us that Ortiz looked more vulnerable than what we're used to seeing. The reflexes weren't there, the legs weren't there. Could be coming off of a layoff. Took a while to get the juices flowing. When you think about Andy Ruiz, him being in between those trainers and trainer styles, I think that's going to cause him to be conflicted in the ring. He's depending on his muscle memory. Since he's been boxing since he's been 6 years old, he's really counting on getting in the ring and for this muscle memory to kick in and for him to do things instinctively because he's been doing it for so long, not because of the long training camp that he's been enduring. And when you think about everything that's going on between these two guys, for me, it's hard to pick a winner in this fight. I don't have a pick. I honestly think this is a 50-50 fight. I really do. When you look at Ruiz and how he's given the tall, big guys problems, he used to fighting tall, big guys. Ruiz is 6'2", Ortiz is 6'4", 6'5". So when you look at that, right, you would think that Ruiz should be in his element and really trouble Ortiz. But you look at how Ruiz performed his last fight, more thinking too much opposed to just, like he says, relying on that muscle memory and just responding instinctively. That's not what he did in this fight against Arreola. Coming to this fight with Luis Ortiz, if he can do that, I think he gets Ortiz out of there within 2 rounds. Ruiz will knock out Ortiz. But this isn't what I think is going to happen because he's in between trainers coming off of a layoff. I think he's going to get in there and he may have some success early, but I think Ortiz is going to touch him. I think at some point Ortiz is going to touch him. But if Ortiz is looking slow, not looking sharp, the defense not on point, he's going to have a hard time because he can't just go straight back against a guy like Ruiz. Once Ruiz starts to close that distance and let his hands go, if this is the Ruiz of old, the guy who just had rice and beans, not the steak, you know what I'm saying? That guy, then Ortiz can be in trouble. But like I said, right now, man, not a steak with the beans and rice. So I think Ortiz has a great chance of pulling this off. But for me, it's really a 50-50 fight. One thing I like about Ortiz, he's not out here trying to call anybody out. Ortiz knows. He knows that this is his last run at a heavyweight title. And I'm going to go ahead and I will say this. Luis Ortiz will never, ever win a heavyweight championship. Okay? He will never, ever win a significant piece of that heavyweight brass. It just won't happen. Nobody's giving him the fights. He is a person who's going to be known for the fights that weren't made. Not because it's his fault. It's just like I said about Boots Ennis and Demetrius Andrade. They'll be known for the fights that weren't made. Okay? It's not their fault, but the fact is that the fights weren't made. Gennady Golovkin's going to be known for the fights that weren't made. Not his fault. The fights just weren't made. And I think Luis Ortiz, too. He was very fortunate to get that fight with Wilder. But outside of Wilder, what big name opponent has Luis Ortiz fought? See? Can't call a name. Now, he's fought good fighters. But what big name opponent has he fought? Hasn't fought the Dillian Whites, hasn't fought the Chisores, hasn't fought an AJ, hasn't fought a Usyk, hasn't fought a Povetkin, hasn't fought a Kubrat Pulev, right? They keep throwing him against these, good contenders, and he did with them what he was supposed to, but he never got an opportunity, except for Deontay Wilder. And now he's getting an opportunity against Andy Ruiz. But this isn't the same Andy Ruiz, but he's not too far removed from being the monster he was. So this could be a very hard fight for Luis Ortiz, but I just think with both of them, they have so much going on right now that it's hard to really come out here and with confidence and say that I think Ruiz is going to win or Ortiz. I think it's just a matter of who can kind of establish a good jab, intelligence, and just implement the game plan, man. I honestly think that. It's not even a stamina thing because they both come in pretty good shape. I just think Ruiz is going to be conflicted, and Luis Ortiz, it just looks more vulnerable than ever. And if he gets in that ring, looking like he did against Charles Martin, and Ruiz has just, a tenth of what he had when he went into the fight with AJ and the European fighter before he fought AJ, then Luis Ortiz is going to get clipped real quick because that Ruiz is a problem. But we'll see what happens, man. I think with Luis Ortiz, you got to give him credit, man. Although he failed 2 times in his attempts to snatch that WBC belt from Deontay Wilder, you got to give him credit for how he performed. And although he still dreams of having the belt wrapped around his waist, and clipping Ruiz would be a huge step in that direction. I just don't see it happening, man. And he can say he's back in a position to get one step closer to achieving his goal, but it's just not that easy, man. And yeah, he came. It's real frustrating. He came and knocked out the guy Flores and Charles Martin. Charles Martin, I give him credit for that win because Martin looked pretty good, and he's a lot bigger than Ortiz, but Ortiz got him out of there. But there's just a lot of people doubting Ortiz, man. I think his days are numbered. And surprisingly, there's some people doubting Ruiz now. But you can't fault people for doubting them, and you can't fault these fighters for performing the way they performed. So it is what it is. But the good thing about these two fighting, right, is on that card, Isaac Cruz is going to be fighting. Isaac Cruz is going to be getting busy, man. And if you don't know who Isaac Pitbull Cruz is, then you've been underneath a rock. You should stop watching, calling yourself a boxing fan. And then you have Jose Valenzuela and Jezreel Corrales. You may not know who they are. And then Abner Mares, surprisingly, is returning back to the ring against Miguel Flores. And Mares hasn't fought since 2018. And I personally think he shouldn't be fighting at all. Coming off of those eye injuries, man. One of his eyes is already shot. The other one took damage. And now he's coming back to boxing for what? He's got a nice commentating job. This is just stupid. Someone got in his ear and told him, do not return to boxing. He's watching everybody fighting and making money, and he's feeling good because he hasn't been in there really getting punched in the face. And now he's coming back. And, you know, this is where I think he should do what he wants. If it makes him happy, he should do it. Who are we to tell him he shouldn't? But this is what concerns me, where these guys who are already handicapped come into a fight and just risking their sight. Or if you know you've had, like Zab Judah, when he got that fight and had the bleed on the brain and had surgery. Of course, he wouldn't get cleared, but if somehow he was able to get cleared and come back for a boxing match, it's like, why do it? And it's the kind of thing with Abner Mares. Why do it? You know what I'm saying? It's just not worth it. But long story short, I think this is a pick'em fight, man. Ruiz Ortiz, September 4th is going to be in Los Angeles. Expect a big crowd for that. But I'm not sure Ruiz or Ortiz can really get out there and ever pick up a heavyweight strap ever again. Who's going to want to see Andy Ruiz go and fight again for a heavyweight title? Luis Ortiz, I mean, I'd like to see him because it's the whole thing with his daughter. But that's me. But the majority, nobody wants to see those guys. You know, they still want to see Wilder. They still want to see Fury. They still want to see AJ. They want to see Usyk. You got Hergovic and Jean Jalil and a couple of and Joe Joyce, and you got some other guys out there making some noise. But outside of really those four, Usyk, AJ, Fury, and Wilder, nobody. I mean, we like watching boxing, but those are the only names you really want to see mix it up. You know what I'm saying? So hopefully these guys, man, can get out there, man, and represent themselves well, and maybe get closer to their dreams of winning a championship. But me personally, I don't think they'll ever get that chance. But it's unfortunate that they had to put these two against each other. But you know, Al Heyman keeps it all, you know, inside the family, so it is what it is. But we'll see what happens when these two get in the ring. I personally don't think, I don't have a favorite. It's a 50-50 fight, but I'm sure you guys do. Leave it in the comments below who you think is going to win. That being said, like and subscribe if you enjoyed the video. Shout out to the veterans. Y'all keep safe. And as always, I'm in the breeze.